Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam, thanks for hanging out with me again today. And today, the DT04 Fighter Next Gen. Yeah, I broke down and got one. Kind of said that I really probably wasn't going to because I wasn't a fan of the body style. You know, talked about it to several different people. It just, to me, it looked toy store. You know, the clunky body, the Lego-ish look to it, the way the screws are showing, holding the body panels on. It just looked like a Five Below knockoff of the BBX, you know, the AliExpress version, whatever. But I got to thinking about it, and, you know, painting it in a darker color makes those screws blend in maybe. And, you know, curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to see how they engineered all this. So I got one. In typical fashion, no unboxings and all that good stuff. We're just going to lay it out on the bench. I'm going to go through the build, take pictures along the way, and then once we're done, I'll come back with the finished buggy. here is the final product. We're gonna call this 50 Shades of Gray because it's silver and gray and silver and black, and it's just, it's less toy store looking to me in the darker colors. The screws don't stand out as prominently, and I dumbed down the stickers. I didn't go with all the bright colors and everything. I just went with some basic generic decaling, you know, with the Fighter NXGEN and some sponsor stickers, Tamiya sticker, all that stuff, and left it at that. Overall, build went great. It goes together very well laid out and thought out and all that stuff by Tamiya. The one thing I was disappointed in is I wanted to ditch this driver figure. The new age driver figure is fine, I guess. It fits great with stuff like the comical buggies and stuff like that. This is more of a, you know, a racer style-ish, you know, theme buggy kind of thing, and you've got Cartoon Joe in here. I really wanted to put the Wild Willie driver in there. Now, I painted this guy up a while ago just to have him on hand, and was like, oh, these mount very similar to the Wild Willie figure. Unfortunately, his noggin is a little bit too big to go underneath the canopy. Basically, he would fit in there, but his head was hitting, and you couldn't close the door. So I did have a Headhunters figurine head. This was sent in a while ago by Zach, and I just have not figured out what I wanted to put it in. And I was like, oh, this would be great. A nice grayed out buggy and everything. But his noggin is big as his. So the neck is a little bit shorter. You know, it saved me a few millimeters there, but, you know, I would have had to sand down the entirety of his helmet and shrink his helmet, and that just was not going to happen. So we put in the kind of generic new age anime looking figure, and it's fine. I do like the opening door. Still not a fan of the little turny thing on there. I think they could have engineered that a little bit better, but overall, you know, it's a good looking buggy. I like it. It feels nice, and oh yeah, it doesn't have the stock wheels and tires on there. I just figured once I decided to go dark with this, and basically I just went over to the paint wall and said, you know, I've got olive drab over there, thought about doing that, and I thought that was going to lean a little bit too much towards like the fast attack vehicle. This definitely has BBX vibes, so hey, I've got my runner tires and wheels. Let's throw those on there. I decided to ditch the white wheels. It was going to clash with this. I wasn't trying to dye anything or paint anything. I hate painting wheels. So I was like, let's stick the BBX ones on there. It looks like a BBX. It does work, but the fronts rub, the inner part of the rim rubs on the angled area of the steering arm. So to get them spaced out, I put 2 shims behind the hex to push it a little bit further that way, and then I also added 3 shims on the outside of the hex to space the wheel away from the hex a little bit. But what I used was the little Amazon box of the 1985 part number 1985 Traxxas shims. So 2 on the inside, 2 on the outside, and then the wheel goes on, and it just barely clears. Now I could have shaved a little bit off the arm. I probably could have chamfered off the inside of the wheel, but I got it done with shims. And, you know, I could also try to find a little bit thicker wheel hex, but had the shims right here, so that's the way I did it. I think it looks pretty badass with the BBX wheels on there. It's very, very reminiscent to it now. So now, sitting side by side, they are very, very, very similar in design. So lengthwise, they are almost identical. I built this in a long wheelbase. It's about 4 millimeters shorter than the BBX. Now widthwise, this is actually wider than the BBX is. So for the fronts, you know, there's like a whole tire width difference there, and in the back there's almost a full tire width difference in the rear as well. So a wider, almost as long baby BBX that's a lot cheaper. So the wheels and tires readily available. Like I said, you got to shim the front end out, and you've kind of got your, you know, Five Below BBX. To wrap this one up, guys, you know, I'm still not super stoked on it. you know, this is much better than this, but this is a whole lot more expensive than this. Now, I do like some of the stuff on here. They give you provisions to put lights here. You can put lights down here if you want. There's also little bosses back here where you could put the small little square tail lights. Potentially, you may have to space them up a little bit. But I think if you wanted to, you could probably put working lights on here or just faux lights. For me, I'm not too worried about it. I just thought it was going to be a fun and interesting one to build, and it was. I really like the little side pods here. The electronics are hidden in the side pods, so your ESC sits over here and your receiver sits over here. I put a low profile servo in here just because I wanted a little bit quicker steering than my regular ones, but a regular servo would fit in here fine. Now, one thing to note, the shorter servo, the wire coming out of it was hitting one of the bosses of the chassis. So I had to basically bend the strain relief back and set the servo down in there. Not going to affect anything, but it is tight because you're moving all of that stuff forward by putting a low profile in there. But a regular servo shouldn't have any issues. They've designed it to kind of fit around a standard servo. The only other thing I might do is I might put some flags up here if I can come up with something. I was going to do like a bright color. I was actually going to take one blue and one red stripe off of the NXGEN decals. And then I was like, well, I really kind of don't have a whole lot of color here. So I decided against color because I didn't want the, you know, bright flags up here clashing with the not so bright bodywork. So I'm going to see if I can get some, like maybe some little pirate flags or checkered flags or something up there. And just put some flags on the end of these. But I do like the little dual whip antennas up here. That would have been a cool thing to put on the BBX, but I give them A for effort. You know, they came up with a new design. They aimed it for entry level, get more people into the hobby and everything. And you know, it's a fairly simple build. For the collector in me and everything, I really wanted to get one just to build it and see how it all went together and how they designed the DT4 from DT02, 3 parts, all that stuff. And it's overall a really great build, but still not 100% on the body, but I do like it better in the gray. Kind of beating a dead horse at this point, so all I'm going to do is take it outside, get some pictures for you guys, do a bunch of picture montage, and then if I'm able to, I'm going to get it run. If we can't get it run in the next day or two, I'm going to go ahead, edit the video, send it out, and then we'll have a dedicated second running video. So depending on what's after this, is what's coming up next. Everybody out there, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.